For Assignment 1, Lesson Plan Evaluations, you are asked to review different lesson plans that are available on internet websites and complete the attached lesson plan evaluation form, which is located at the top. Um, what I would like for you to do is to look at the lesson plan websites that were provided for you. There's a list of them that you can choose to look at. For example, we've already visited ALEX, the Alabama Learning Exchange. I want you to review the lesson plans that would be in your content area and your grade level that you would hope to teach. For example, if you are interested in English language arts, you would check English language arts because that's your content area. And then if you want to teach um, high school, then you could click 9th, 10th, and 11th grades and then click display results. Now, whatever your content area, you can select and whatever grade levels that you're interested in. Um, Once you are provided, sorry, with a list of lesson plans, then you simply click on the title of the lesson plan and review the information provided. The title of it, the overview of what the lesson is about, the various content standards that are addressed by this particular lesson plan, which includes both English language arts and computer applications, national standards that may be addressed, the learning objective, the time frame, the materials, the resources needed, background needed, and then the detailed step-by-step procedures as to what needs to be done to complete the lesson, any provided resources that they give you, how the lesson plan is going to be assessed, extended, and modified for students who need remediation. Now, this is just on the ALEX website that gives you these particular details. As you visit other lesson plan sites, they will give you other details in different formats. Once you've reviewed the lesson plan, then you are to open the lesson plan evaluation rubric, which looks like this. And at the top, you'll see some information that you need to fill in about the lesson plan. For example, it says lesson plan title. So here I would find the lesson plan title, Literary Elements in Literature. And enter that information. Next, you would enter the subject area or subject areas. In this case, it's English, language, arts. Then you would enter the grade level. In this case, this one is a um, 9th and 10th grade lesson plan. And then the URL is the website address for the lesson plan. So I want you to copy the exact lesson plan address and enter that in. And then a brief summary. And you can actually copy the introduction or the summary of the lesson plan from whatever site you get it from, or you can enter that information for yourself. Either one. Okay, so make sure you fill out the information at the top for each lesson plan that you complete. And then what I want you to do is to read the rubric descriptions below. The first thing you're going to be looking at is the instructional goals and objectives. And you're going to read each of the descriptions in the row next to instructional goals and objectives. They're listed as beginning, developing, accomplished, and exemplary. Beginning receives a score of a 1, developing receives a score of a 2, accomplished receives a score of a 3, and exemplary receives a score of a 4. Okay, so after you finish reading the lesson plan, you're going to read these descriptions. The first one saying, instructional goals and objectives are not stated. Learners cannot tell what is expected of them. Learners cannot determine what they should know and be able to do as a result of learning and instruction. You'll read all four of these. Four being the instructional goals and objectives are clearly stated. Learners have a clear understanding of what is expected of them, and learners can determine what they should know and be able to do as a result of learning and instruction. Well, when I look at this lesson plan and I see this is the learning objective, students will recognize and correctly identify various literary elements in selections of literature. To me, that is either a developing or an accomplished. It's not beginning there. It is actually stated, but it's not 100% clear. So for me, I might enter a score of a 3, saying that that instructional objective is accomplished. Okay. Next, I scroll down to the next category, which is instructional strategies, and I do the same thing. Instructional strategies are missing or strategies are used are inappropriate. And then I read all four of those descriptions. Four being instructional strategies are appropriate for learning outcomes. Strategies are based on a combination of practical experience, theory, research, and documented best practices. So where would I find instructional strategies? Those would be listed throughout the procedures or the activities of the lesson plan. So you have to be able to identify the different strategies that are used and determine whether or not they are appropriate for the objective trying to be accomplished. So in this case, students are divided into small groups. They're given copies of a worksheet. They actually have to discuss it and answer it with their group, trade papers and correct their answers, so on and so forth. Um, Ultimately, they have to create a podcast that will be uh, used as a part of the class. So you read the entire instructional activities and decide whether the strategies used are appropriate or not. And in this case, I may say that there was a great combination of different instructional strategies used, and therefore I would give them a score of a 4. Now, again, I do the same thing for assessment, um, looking at each of those and determining how was this lesson plan evaluated. So I come over, look at the lesson plan, and decide students will be assessed based on the completed literary elements worksheet and the completed podcast. So I would read each of the descriptions and decide whether or not that the assessment is appropriate for what they're trying to accomplish and whether it was authentic. And in this case, I might give it a score of a 3. The next category is technology used. So I'll look over here and see on the lesson plan what technology was used, a computer, projector, a student podcast sample, a digital video camera, and podcast creation software. And I would understand how that was used within the lesson. So then I read all four of my descriptions for technology used and decide which of these is most descriptive of the lesson plan that I'm evaluating at the time. So I might say that this is a score of a 4. The next category is materials used. Again, I would look at the materials of the lesson plan. In this case, it's work of literature, applied analysis worksheet, literary elements worksheet, chart paper, writing supplies, and completed podcast. See how those are used throughout the lesson and determine which one of these four descriptions most appropriately describes this lesson plan. So in this case, I might give it a score of a 3. Last but not least is organization and presentation, deciding whether or not the lesson plan was organized and presented in a neat manner, um, whether it was packaged together in a professional way. And then I would give it a score that I feel is appropriate. As you'll notice that it actually totals up the completed point value for you. The highest score is a 24, so this lesson plan happens to be a pretty good one. Okay, so that's all you have to do for the first lesson plan. Once you've completed that, you'll notice there are tabs across the bottom. This one's called Lesson Plan Evaluation Rubric. Then what you're going to do is click the next tab, Lesson Plan Evaluation Rubric 2, and start the process all over again with a new lesson plan. There are actually 5 tabs located at the bottom. Lesson Plan Evaluation number 3, number 4, and number 5. So there's one available for each lesson plan that you have to evaluate. When you're finished, you are going to save this lesson plan that you've completed with the appropriate name. So this is the first assignment, lesson plan evaluations. You're going to put your first initial and your last name, and then the section that you're in. So for example, Monday, Wednesday, section number 1, and save. All right. Now the next thing you're going to do is upload that to LiveText. So you would go to livetext.com, log in, to your LiveText site. And for assignment number 1, you're going to hit the submit button. Now your view is a little different from my view because I'm a faculty member and not a student. So you hit the submit button. You would also click the file attachment tab, browse to find this file that you have just saved on your computer, attach it, check to make sure that it is actually the right file and opens by clicking on the lesson plan and then hitting the submit button. So that is the steps to submit your assignment as well.